46 years of waiting, and it all came down to one overtime goal, a golden moment that not only rewrote history, but sent an entire nation into a frenzy unlike anything hockey had seen since the winter of 1980. The gold medal-winning United States men's Olympic hockey team arrived at the White House on Tuesday afternoon, February 25, riding a wave of national euphoria that began the moment Jack Hughes buried the decisive shot in a 2-1 overtime victory against Canada at the Milan 2026 Winter Olympics. It was the first time the American men had claimed Olympic gold in hockey since the legendary Miracle on Ice team triumphed at Lake Placid, New York, a feat that had haunted and inspired generations of players in the decades since. The team flew into Joint Base Andrews at approximately 1:20 p.m. ET aboard a charter flight from Florida, where they had landed from Milan the day before. Before the motorcade even departed the tarmac, players broke away from the group to shake hands and take photos with a crowd of fans who had gathered near the perimeter fence, eager to catch a glimpse of hockey's newest legends. The moment captured something genuine. Champions, still in the glow of victory, pausing to acknowledge the people who had stayed up late or woken up early to watch them make history on a rink in northern Italy. By approximately 2:20 p.m. ET, the players arrived at the White House grounds, where they posed on the south lawn with their gold medals gleaming around their necks. They were then guided along the West Wing colonnade, the same walkway lined with portraits of every U.S. president that Trump had personally ordered installed to the strains of Lynyrd Skynyrd's Free Bird playing in the test. Background. The setting was theatrical and unmistakably American. At around 4 p.m., team captain Auston Matthews led the group into the Oval Office, which Trump has redecorated with sweeping touches of gold, an aesthetic that, on this particular afternoon, seemed almost perfectly synchronized with the medals hanging from the players' necks. Trump shook hands with each player, saying, "I recognize every one of you, I know every one of you," and adding with a grin, "Big guys." The players wore dark tops emblazoned with USA, the American flag, and the Olympic rings, paired with light-colored pants. Forward Matthew Tkachuk, grinning broadly, greeted the president with a casual, "Good to see you again," a remark that underscored just how surreal the past 12 months had been for him. The back-to-back Stanley Cup champion with the Florida Panthers was making his third White House visit in just over a year. For roughly 20 of the players who made the trip, it was a first. Not all 25 roster members were present. 5 players, Brock Nelson, Jackson Lacombe, Jake Guentzel, Jake Oettinger, and Kyle Connor, did not attend. Nelson, Lacombe, Guentzel, and Oettinger all have deep roots in Minnesota, a state that has been at the center of the Trump administration's intensified immigration enforcement efforts. Connor, who plays for the Winnipeg Jets in Canada, offered a more straightforward explanation, telling The Athletic, "I'm just getting ready. We play on Wednesday. It's a big second half, so I just wanted to make sure I was ready." The remaining absent players similarly had NHL games scheduled for Wednesday. Among those who did attend were Quinn Hughes, Matt Boldy, and Brock Faber of the Minnesota Wild, as well as Jack Hughes and Charlie McAvoy, both of whom have previously spoken publicly in support of social causes the current administration has opposed. Quinn Hughes, speaking to Good Morning America earlier that morning, had summed up the mood simply, "It's not something you get to do every Tuesday. It's going to be special for us." For Jack and Quinn Hughes, the day carried a weight that went far deeper than politics or pageantry. In 2010, as young boys with their father Jim, then working with the Toronto Maple Leafs, they had sat in a crowded restaurant near Toronto's Pearson International Airport, watching Sidney Crosby score the golden goal in overtime, hand Canada a 3-2 victory over the United States at the Paulus, Vancouver Games. They had been the only Team USA fans in the room. 16 years later, Jack's overtime goal against Canada and against Crosby's team, even as Crosby himself missed the final with a lower body injury, transformed that long-ago heartbreak into something triumphant. Trump also used the occasion to make a significant announcement. Goaltender Connor Hellebuyck, who stopped an extraordinary 41 shots in the gold medal game, would be awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor. As applause echoed through the room, Hellebuyck placed his hand over his heart. That evening, the players attended Trump's State of the Union address before a joint session of Congress. As the team entered the House chamber through two sets of doors and walked along the press gallery, lawmakers from both sides of the aisle rose to their feet. The chamber erupted in chants of USA that rang out several times. Members of Congress pumped their fists, and Representative Lisa McClain, the Republican House Conference Chair, called out, "Love you," to the players. The bipartisan ovation lasted nearly 2 minutes, a rare and striking moment of unified celebration in a city more often defined by division. Trump addressed the players directly from the podium. "I want to thank you all. What a special job you did. What special champions you are." The president also announced that the U.S. women's hockey team, which had likewise defeated Canada to win gold, their first since 2018, would soon receive their own White House invitation. The women's team had declined an earlier invitation to attend the State of the Union, citing scheduling conflicts and previously committed academic and professional obligations. When Trump made the announcement, the men's players watching from the gallery responded with thumbs-up gestures. Panthers general manager Bill Zito, who served as an assistant general manager for the Olympic squad, reflected on what the past few days had meant for the sport at large. "Our sport just got the biggest stage in the world of sport," he said Tuesday. "That's wonderful, and we need to celebrate it." Ellen Hughes, mother of Jack and Quinn, and a consultant with the gold medal-winning U.S. women's team, appeared on NBC's Today earlier in the morning with a message that resonated far beyond the ice. "These players, both the men and women, can bring so much unity to a group and to a country," she said. "People that cheered on that don't watch hockey, people that have politics on one side or on the other side, and that's all both the men's team and the women's team care about." Jack Hughes, his voice still ragged from 2 days of celebration that had stretched into the early hours of multiple mornings, said the men's and women's teams had ended up in the Milan Athletes' Village cafeteria together until 3:30 a.m. after Sunday's win. "If there was a camera on me and Quinn when the women's team won, we look like the biggest superfans of all time," he said. "We were just jumping up and down. We couldn't believe it." The journey from Milan to Washington had wound through Miami, where the team chartered in on Monday, dined together in Miami Beach, and drew hundreds of fans to a nightclub well into the early morning hours. By Tuesday, less than 48 hours after winning gold on a frozen rink in northern Italy, they stood inside the Oval Office. What do you think does a moment like this, where sport briefly cuts through the noise and brings an entire country together, remind you of what makes these events matter? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want more stories like this one, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss what's next.